Welcome to a Learn and Grow event here on FutureReadyEducators.com. AI is not going to replace you in the classroom yet. But if you want to learn more about it, I've been spending hours and hours in ChatGPT and other AI tools to learn how educators can use them in the classroom and view it as a tool in your toolkit, just like all the other technology in your classroom. There's been a lot of fear, a lot of things going on that remind a lot of people of the early days of the internet and teaching is where's this information going? Who's in control of this? And those are all valid questions. But today is about thinking about tools like ChatGPT as your digital teaching assistant. It's a phenomenal language-based tool. It gives you things that you put into it, and that's the only way it can get you information is if you give it prompts. And so stick around because in this training, we're going to actually give you a spreadsheet that has 75 prompts, which we'll explain here in a little bit what it is a prompt. And then we're going to give you 75 prompts that you can use or share with your teachers if you're a tech integration specialist, you're an administrator, or if you're actually in the classroom. These can help you and become your digital teaching assistant. So I'm excited to jump in here. This is a live training and we'll have this recorded for you to go back and watch. We've got the slides. We'll get you the link to the spreadsheet, but I'm really excited to kind of highlight 5 areas that we've come up with that could be some great starting points for you. That's one of the things that I've heard from educators is I don't even know what to put into it. Well, these things are going to give you a jump start. And hopefully you can grow this spreadsheet into other opportunities, other prompts, other categories that you can create, especially as we head into the summer. I know this is a hectic time for most of you. We're here on a Saturday morning, so I completely understand, but we were so excited about this content. We had to get it out into the world and for you to consume at your own time. So my name is Taylor Siebert. I'm the CEO and founder of Strive, and we are excited to be launching FutureReadyEducators.com, a free community with digital media content, streaming spaces for you to talk about broadcasting, technology. We're going to be doing some things around coding, and then business, entrepreneurship and innovation, sports marketing, digital marketing, all of these different technology topics. And ChatGPT, AI tools like that kind of have infiltrated all of teaching. And that's also what we're going to be talking about is how do we develop skills, future ready skills for students. And so today's training is going to be highlighting 5 areas, but had to kind of, where are you at? How are you watching this? We're on Twitter Spaces. We're at FutureReadyEducators.com. I appreciate you guys tuning in here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started here. So again, we're going to be highlighting 5 ways to harness the power of ChatGPT. Again, there's lots of other tools out there, as Josh Allen reminded me earlier this week. We're going to be focusing kind of on ChatGPT as your digital teaching assistant. Excuse me. There's a problem, right? There's a lot of fear around this technology. And excuse me. There's a lot of fear around this new technology. And I mentioned some of those in the beginning is where's this going? And so I would advise you, if you are using this as a tool in your classroom, is to not put any student names into ChatGPT. Don't put any personal information into this tool. This is we don't know necessarily who owns the rights to some of this, but there's a problem and there's a fear around that this could replace you as a teacher. And all of those we're still figuring out. And this training is going to be about some tangible, tactical things that you can do. There's a ton of different people talking about AI and education. And we wanted to kind of cut through the noise with that. And that's the problem. It's really overwhelming. And it's putting a lot of pressure on teachers to try to learn this, especially here at the end of the school year. And that's not what this training is about. Welcome, Michelle.
Hey there.
Hi. If you want to go ahead and you can mute and then we'll do some questions here. Thank you so much for jumping on. Really appreciate it. So that's the problem that that has happened with this over the last basically 6 months is teachers feel overwhelmed by the potential, and they don't even know where to start. There's a lack of guidance on how to harness this technology and to use it effectively in their teaching, which we believe can lead to missed opportunities for enhancing the classroom experience. And hopefully, these tips we give you today, these strategies, the spreadsheet I mentioned earlier, will give you kind of a jump start, especially as we head into the summer. I know a lot of teachers, educators aren't starting new things here at the end of the school year, but at least you can start to archive these, take these trainings and kind of really digest them and come up with a plan. And that's where we fill into. We want to help you with that as you come up to this next school year, which we believe will be a great opportunity to implement some of this new technology. Again, AI tools like ChatGPT won't replace you in the classroom, but incorporating it into your teaching toolkit is going to give you a big advantage as an educator. And students are going to see that. They're going to see that you're learning and you're growing and you're pushing yourself because they're hearing about these things as well. And how do we integrate? I've seen some really neat things on Twitter. Those things are awesome of what teachers are doing and how to get students using the tool. That's not necessarily what this training is about, is how students can be using ChatGPT and AI tools like it, but how you as a teacher, educator, administrator can use it to help you do your job and equip and empower students through the things that you put into the system. Again, generative AI tools like ChatGPT are an assistant. They're not a replacement. This is a great article from axiushq.com. I've linked the source to that here below. And one of the things it does, and I've got a video here next to, is allows us to think critically. As I've been using it over the last 6 months, it's made me think differently because I'm having to put content into ChatGPT. It's not dreaming up things for me. I'm prompting it. And so it allows me, and so as a teacher, it's allowing you to think critically. And then you can think about maybe some lessons you could introduce to students. But it may not be complete. It might not be true. And it might not be worthy of sharing. But at least it gives you a starting point. I've used it as truly as an assistant, a brainstorming tool. And it's been a lot of fun to use it. And so I just want to emphasize that it's not a replacement for a lot of things. It's an assistant. I won't share this because I don't think the audio is going to come through. But let me go ahead and play this. This is kind of going off of that. Yeah. Michelle, I'll share the slides with you here so you can play that video. Just an entrepreneur that I follow that kind of reiterated the same things about it's truly an assistant for you. It gives you what you put in. Some of you may have questions on what is a prompt. You've heard prompt engineering and prompts and this and that, and it is kind of what it sounds like. It's a starting point for a conversation in the form of a question or instruction given into a tool like ChatGPT, Bard, or we also use a tool before we started using ChatGPT called Jasper AI, which was more marketing driven. And so you've got to give it something. You've got to put something in, and that's hard for some people. Think of it as your Google search. What are you putting into Google search? You're asking it questions. You're asking Google questions. You're asking, hey, where is this place? ChatGPT is essentially the same tool. It just looks different, and there's no advertisements yet. So that is a prompt, just like, again, you would use with Google or Bing or any other search engine. That's essentially what you're doing, is you're putting in a prompt. So hopefully maybe that can help you think about what are the things you're asking and putting into Google. You could put into ChatGPT and you can add more things to it. It's not just a one line item quick search. We'll talk about some tips here in a second to give you better results. And so we'll roll right into that. What are some key tips? And this is in your spreadsheet that we're going to share with you here in just a second. But you need to be specific. So define a specific role and persona for the prompt. Tell ChatGPT that you're a teacher. Tell ChatGPT that you're a high school English teacher. Those are the specifics. so it can then give you the information that you are looking for much faster. And then follow-up questions. I can't tell you how many times I have put something in and it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't the right um, information. And so I had to be more specific, and I'm constantly iterating. And I'll pull up my ChatGPT account here in a second and show you that. And you continue to ask questions, and then you can also teach the tool to kind of mirror your writing style. So you can put in some of your writing and go, hey, match this writing style. If you're developing a lesson or an announcement to your students, whatever that is. Again, don't put anything personal in there. You can put brackets to replace names and any personal information. Do not put financial information in there, especially if you're teaching an accounting class or anything like that, which isn't personal necessarily, but I would keep those types of things. It can do common math problems and things like that. But again, reiterating, do not put personal information into these tools until we really know and understand it a little bit better. Use the prompt to keep going. This is called chained prompting. So maybe you ask it something and then it stops and it doesn't give you everything. Ask it to keep going and it can piece things together. And then this is probably the coolest thing I've used it for. Excuse me. Hopefully you've got your coffee here if you're watching this live here this morning. Modifying the content to different formats. So I have created a kind of an outline for a blog article. Then I've put the post together through this tool. And then I've said, and I'm putting all the content in, I'm saying, hey, can you make this more concise and clearer to read? And it cleans some different things up. And then I put it into a different tool to run it through Grammarly. But taking that initial post that it created and saying, or taking a post that you've created outside of the tool, ChatGPT, and then putting it in saying, hey, could you create this into a Twitter thread? And I have done that quite a bit. So it can take a piece of content and then format it in a different style, if you will. And so think about that for your class. Maybe you've got a lesson and it gives you this very detailed lesson, and you say, one of the things you can do is, hey, can you create this in a format so an 11th grader can read? One of our teammates, Eric, this week, he said, hey, can you make this? He put in a prompt. He put in all the information that he wanted it to kind of analyze. He said, hey, can you make this sound smarter? Well, it came back and it overused words tremendously. And then he said, okay, now can you take that? Can you turn it into so a 12th grader could understand? And then he merged the two. He took those two different kind of formats. So there's some really powerful things you can do to help you. Again, as an assistant, Eric put that information in. It didn't create it for him. He had to give it a starting point, which is the exciting part. It makes us think critically. It allows us to think about the problems around us and how we can solve those problems as your assistant. Okay, and these are the 5 kind of ways, the strategies or areas, I guess you will, buckets, if you will, that we see that educators can really harness the power of a tool like ChatGPT. And that is through curriculum design, instructional strategies, assessment and feedback, classroom management, and professional development. And there's probably 10 more categories you could choose. These are the 5 that we decided to put into our spreadsheet and give to you guys today. And that is what we're going to go through here next. And I'm going to switch sharing my screen, and we're going to run through that. We'll pop into ChatGPT as I've copied some of these in there so you can see the results. All right, so give me a second here, and we'll start sharing the spreadsheet. Awesome. Okay, and I will get you a link here, Michelle. Let me put this in the chat, and you can actually make a copy of this right now. And so once you click on that, you can make a copy, and it will put it into your Google Drive, and then you can customize it. It's not like we're editing the same document. At least it should. That's what I put in there. So if that does not work, we'll try again. But this is the spreadsheet that you can completely customize. It's got a tab here that is called Key Tips. And this is going to give you some key tips and reminders and I've used a lot of these as, again, those things we talked about already, teaching the tool to mimic your style, keep going, chain prompting. A couple things I didn't highlight on that slide was using strong verbs and positive phrases. So it will, again, the more specific things you can put into it, the better the results are going to be. Just like Google, the more specific Google searching is an art, so is prompt engineering, is what they call it now, and searching on ChatGPT. Again, they're exactly the same, asking follow-up questions. This is probably a really key tip. It will it will give you quite a bit more than maybe you're wanting. And so being very specific on the length of copy is really, really important. Tell it how many characters, how many paragraphs, how many sentences. I have done that multiple times, and it then does that. Or I'll start with the longer piece and then say, hey, can you condense this down to 2 to 3 paragraphs? Hey, can you make this clear? All these are really great tips. And these are examples of that using kind of the future ready educators persona here. And then on each tab here, we have the 5 tabs. So curriculum design, and each of them are broken into kind of 5 different categories for you. And these are prompts that you can copy and paste into ChatGPT. All right. And so let me go ahead and actually stop and share the whole window here. There we go. And I can go back and forth. Awesome. So you can literally copy and paste these. You can change them. You can add to this once you make a copy of the spreadsheet. And so these are the different areas around curriculum design that we've added. I'm going to take one here. I'm a big fan of project-based learning. A lot of you probably are as well. And maybe you're struggling with how to assess that, right? And so you can go ahead in here, and I've got a prompt to describe how you can assess student learning and growth throughout a project-based learning experience. That sounds pretty interesting. And again, I could put more details about the project in here, and I can go to ChatGPT, which, yeah, here's the prompt that I put in. So there, I copied it in there, and I had already done this to kind of save on time. And it then gives you about 6 different things to consider on how to better assess student learning and growth through project-based learning experiences. Set clear objectives and learning goals, right? A lot of these things probably you're already doing, but there may be good reminders. Have a formative assessment during the learning process, so you're kind of assessing them as they go. Again, this was a very general prompt, so it's giving me kind of general information, things you probably already know. Encourage student reflection, monitor and adjust. That's probably the biggest thing with project-based is compared to a test is, with a test, you're giving them information, and then here's the end result. With project-based, it can go lots of different directions, and that sometimes is frustrating for educators. I know I learn better through project-based learning as opposed to test taking. So I thrived on that. But how do I work with a student like that? How do we monitor that and make a little adjustments? And so then it gives you kind of typically it gives you a list of things based on what you put in, and then a summary of that. And so these prompts work, right? They're not fluff, and these are actual things that you can put in. Let's go to discuss we're moving over to assessment and feedback then, again, kind of related. Discuss the potential impact of peer and self-assessment on student motivation, growth mindset, and lifelong learning skills, which I'm a big fan of. All right. It then went through and highlighted motivation, growth mindset, learning, lifelong learning skills, and how those can make an impact, potential impacts. Again, these are starting points for you. It's not giving you everything. It's not giving you the whole idea. It gives you a starting point for this, and then maybe you can ask it to be more specific around the motivation, right? And so those are really important. These, again, are starting points for you. Let's go to one more, and you can play around with these, and you can test these, and you can modify them then. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Now see it. Let's go to Classroom management. Share strategies for building positive relationships with students, fostering a sense of community and belonging within the classroom. Again, this is probably common sense, but a great reminder, right? Maybe you have some teachers who are struggling with building relationships with students in the classroom, especially this time of year. Copy and paste that in, share strategies, get to know your students. Again, these are common things that you guys all know as educators, but maybe a good reminder for them. But this gives you an example of the content that's being can be produced through this. It's helpful. This could be, again, comparing it to Google, this could be something you put into Google, but look at the format it's giving you. Look at the different ideas that it can give you there, providing opportunities for student choice, voice and choice. Okay, and then you could go deeper. Let's do that. Let me do this live here. Okay, this is great. I always like to be positive. Can you now provide a activity and lesson around this topic? Okay, so now it is spitting out a activity and lesson very quickly. You can see how fast that was. So activity is a classroom community agreement. Students will work together to create a classroom community agreement that reflects their shared values and expectations. Gives you the materials you need, which I love: chart paper, marker, Sharpies, and sticky notes. Those are the best 3 tools you have in your classroom outside of a Mac, which I'm an Apple guy. All right, and it gives you the procedure of how to do that, a lesson extension, which I have not seen, and then the end result. By engaging students in this process of creating a classroom community agreement, they'll have a sense of ownership and responsibility for their own learning. Fantastic. That's exactly what I was looking for. Maybe it's not. I could say, can you provide a more specific example of how this looks in a high school English classroom? So now it's giving me a little bit more specific to an English classroom and an English class community. So I can tailor it again to specifically the type of class. Again, it's going to give you very generic information if you put in generic prompts. If I put in specific prompts of the type of classroom, it will give me specific answers. And so these, again, are starting prompts. Here's another one. This is be fun for time management. I talk to a lot of teachers who are stressed, feel the pressure, especially this time of year. Let's see what it puts in. And you could add, I teach digital media in high school and see how that helps. So we're creating a sample daily or weekly schedule for your digital media class. So it's giving you actually examples here of group work and projects that you're working on. So this is really cool. Those on Twitter Spaces, thank you guys for joining in here. You can jump over to futurereadyeducators.com. You can actually watch this live if you want to. You can see what I'm going through. But appreciate you guys jumping on here. Again, what a phenomenal tool here, or schedule, excuse me, that I can use. It's saying have a morning meeting with announcements. You're going to do some instruction on digital media design. Then they're going to be working on designing logos. And so it gives you some breaks and then wrap up. This is a morning kind of looks like a block schedule. And so I didn't give it any specifics on this class schedule that I have. So that's probably something I should have done, and it would give me more specific information there. Okay, you get the idea. So again, we're getting you access. Those of you on the Twitter space, shoot me a DM and I will get you the 75 prompts that we've put together in the 5 different categories of curriculum design, instructional strategies, assessment and feedback, classroom management, and then we have a tab on professional development. So this is great for admin to use, or a tech director or tech integrator. Develop a plan for regularly reflecting on your teaching practices and self-assessment, goal setting, and seeking feedback from peers or mentors. Put that in there. See what it comes up with. Or, hey, I'm What are some different tools maybe and resources that I should be using in the classroom? And that's what we're trying to create with Future Ready Educators, which is a free community. We're talking about innovation, we're collaborative, and most importantly, we're student-centered. Everything's about how we can get teachers to be student-centered. That's why we're here. And I'm not saying none of you aren't student-centered, but we want to continue to encourage that, because cool, amazing things happen in education when we put students first. And so we thank you for that. So this is the Google Sheet. That was the primary kind of piece of the training here. And so I'd love to, one tip, do a little Q&A. Michelle, if you've got any questions. If not, totally fine. Don't want to put you on the spot, but if you do have a question, you can put it in the chat. If you've got a question on the Twitter Spaces, go ahead and raise your hand there. But if you've got a question, I just want to encourage you to ask more questions about AI tools in education. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I've talked to lots of educators over the last several weeks, and they go, yeah, I'm not sure what to put in. That's okay. None of us have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. This is just what, over the last several months, 20, 30, 40 hours of working in these tools, this is what I've learned now. That could totally change by August of the things that I learned. And so continue to ask more questions about these tools. Yes, Michelle, great question. I have, I haven't done specifically a rubric for assessment, but it can produce tables, right? So let's actually go over and try that. Can you provide a rubric for assessment in my introduction? Again, I'm being very specific. Introduction to digital media course in high school. These students are in their first year of the class. So it's very basics of video production, audio production, graphic design, and web design. Okay. So as you can see, it is putting together a rubric based on each category. And it stopped because it has a limit of characters, but you can see I had not done that. This is pretty phenomenal. So 3 on proficient, 2 developing, 1 emerging, not evident for concept and planning in regards to video production. Really, really cool. That is a great question. I had not done that, Michelle. So thank you so much for that question. And you can see it paused there, so it didn't get to graphic design. So let's see if the prompt of keep going works. There we go. So it will continue to go. Again, each prompt has a limited amount of characters, and it's actually producing it in a table format. Phenomenal. Now, again, this may not be exactly what you are looking for, but at least it gives you a starting point and saves you probably hours scouring the internet to giving it to you in literally less than 10 seconds, and gives you a starting point for your class. And you don't like the way you don't like the columns there of proficient or the numbers, give it more details, and it would change it. It would change the whole thing. And so very cool. Very cool. Great question, Michelle. Any other questions you guys have? The other cool part, and just kind of a tool-based, again, I see Josh is on here. So thank you, Josh, for being on. Another specific thing for ChatGPT, and Josh has showed me some screenshots of what Bard looks like, and it looks very similar. But this is really handy over here. If you can see this on the left-hand side, they just made this update the other day of it categorizes your searches. So you can kind of think of them as projects. So as you can see, I have lots of different chats. So each new chat you start, it will start a new project over here for you. And then it saves all of that information. But it's just a running list. So you can see I started way up here, and they actually have a copy button. I can give it feedback, and so it can kind of get a little messy. I would say that's probably one of the main issues right now is trying to organize all of this. So just a pro tip, we actually use a tool called Notion, and we've created this for our company operating system. So we have a dashboard here, and we actually have, a future ready educators um, page, if you will. And I have a content operating system. And so any content ideas I have, so I'm actually taking them from here. And so this table, I'm copying them and putting them into a Notion page to kind of help me keep it a little bit more organized. And then I'm running it through Grammarly, and because ChatGPT's got grammar errors, it's not perfect. And so Grammarly's then editing it for me. I'm reformatting it, and then I'm putting it wherever we want in an email. In for you guys as teachers, putting it into Google Classroom, wherever you're putting that information or content, in this case, a rubric, copying and putting it into a Google Sheet. Notion does the same thing. I'm probably going to be doing a training on Notion a little bit, but I wanted to kind of tease that tool as a way to organize some of this content, because it can get messy. So awesome. Yeah, if there are any other questions, continue to ask questions. I encourage you guys to ask questions in Future Ready Educators in the community. That's really what it's about. And share what you're learning with the FRE community, the Future Ready Educators community, so we can all learn. And I'm really trying to encourage that we continue to be vulnerable with that. Again, I do not have all the answers, and certainly Josh doesn't. Just kidding, Josh. And that's why we're here to grow. We're here to try to innovate, and to innovate, you've got to try new things. You've got to test new ideas, and to collaborate, you've got to ask questions, and we've got to help each other. And at the end of the day, we're focused on serving our students, empowering our students, so that we're doing our job as folks in education, right? And so thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being on here. 32 minutes. So want to be aware of your time here on a Saturday morning. I'll post the recording here this morning, and just want to thank you guys. Look for more trainings. Share Future Ready Educators with other teachers and folks. Again, this is a free community for people to come in and learn and grow, and that's what it's all about as we head into the summer. Hopefully the community continues to grow and evolve because of you guys. And so thank you very much. Make it a great Saturday. See you guys.